Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
Every murderer is probably someone's old friend, Chaos Kids.
Ooh,
I'm Naomi.
creepy. I'm Amber. This is Crime, Wine, and Chaos. Ew,
Yeah.
that was creepy.
You're welcome.
Thank you. God.
This is a true crime podcast, right? Am I at the right show?
I know. Like, don't say creepy things to me. Yeah, you're at the
Jesus.
right spot. Sorry about that.
Just checking.
No, you've come to the right place. Oh, God. That is so true. How
Uh-huh.
spooky.
I know.
I hate it. What's new, sister? What's new?
Oh, I mean, I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
It's been a weird week. Let's just put it that way. It's been a weird week. Amber and I have some synchronicities in our lives lately that are just the wrong kind of synchronicities. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is this happening? Why?
I don't know. It is the wrong kind of synchronicities.
2025 just keeps on setting us up and knocking us down.
I know.
So
It's all right.
it's fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine.
Okay.
How are you? What's going on with you, sister?
What's going on with me?
Yeah, what's going on with you?
I'm trying to think. Fuck, a whole lot of nothing, you know? God, I got nothing.
Well, you've got a podcast.
I've got a podcast. I've got a show coming up. If you're in Seattle, we're playing at the Blue Moon, which is the spot of Crime, Wine, and Chaos's live show.
The one and only live show that we
We'll do
ever
it again.
did.
I'm playing
someday.
at the Blue Moon June 5th with my band. If you're in the
Fun.
Seattle area, yeah,
Fun.
that's all. And we've got.
That's it.
Are we going to announce at the end of the show?
Oh,
Or?
no, let's announce it right now. So, we had this Amber had this idea that we would open up virtual wine night to anyone on the Patreon, whether they were part of the kids club or not. And so the Chaos Kids Club members spoke, and they were all very much in favor of being the more the merrier. So we are going to have a virtual wine night where all Chaos Kids are welcome, so long as you're a member of the Patreon, which you can do without signing up for the club. You can be a free, unpaid member, and you can see what we post in there that is not behind the paywall and participate in conversations over there on the regular episodes and the picture updates and all the other things we post over there. And so as long as you are a member, you can be there to receive the information.
That's right.
To join us for virtual wine night, which will be
Drum roll.
5 days from today, which is not today, but today when you're listening to this new episode on June 6th at 6 p.m., which is a Friday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific. 9 p.m. Eastern, and I think that means it'll be 8 a.m. in Perth. So if you're
That's right.
available,
Specific.
that's June 7th at 8 a.m. in Perth. So if you are available and you want to get in on the Chaos Kids Club virtual wine night action, you can do so. Just go to Crime, Wine, and Chaos. No, do not. Sure, go to crimewineandchaos.com. But what you really need to do is go to patreon.com / yakety slack crime, wine, and chaos. We can do it, sister.
You're
can do
doing
it.
so good. You're doing so good.
Join our Patreon. Go to virtual wine night.
That's right. It's going to be epic.
We're
going to put
epic.
Naomi's Zoom hosting skills to the test because I'm hoping that it's just, it totally reminds me of like COVID times when we did Zoom court and there was just like being the meeting host on Zoom of like more than say 10 people is like, I think it's crazy pants.
Well, if you're trying to work at the same time, sure.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, if you're like trying to, I don't know, transcribe or whatever it is you do, and also like pay attention to what the people in the meeting are doing, then yeah. But like, we're just going to be chilling, and I
All
don't
right.
drink, so I'll be fine.
Okay.
I can handle it.
I know
Don't
you
even
can.
worry
I'm
about
not
me.
worried about it. I'm not worried
So
about it.
I hope we see a whole bunch of you there.
Yeah,
That would be great.
that would be awesome. Well, do you have anything else before we dive into this?
No.
Oh, shit. What?
Let's dive in. No, you're diving in.
Okay,
No. Oh
fine.
shit. Just dive right in.
Well, I accidentally closed my tab. I'm like,
So should I do a little like tap dance while we?
yeah. Can you just do some hold music?
Oh
Oh God. Okay, and look at this is where it's at now, sister.
Oh, she has to get her readers.
This is this decade is bullshit. This decade of my life is bullshit. I got my readers. Oh,
Whatever. I've been wearing glasses since I was 12. Get over yourself.
okay. All right. I'm also drinking a red Malbec from
Oh, right.
Mendoza, Argentina.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
It's pretty tasty. All right.
I'm sorry I didn't ask.
It's all right. I offered up the information so you didn't have to.
Okay, great.
Okay, I'm going to tell you about the murder of Gary Pocock.
Oh, Gary.
I know, poor Gary. So it's August 7th, 2013, in the Isle of Sheppey, which is
Okay.
off the northern coast of Kent in England.
Okay.
It's pretty rural. And rural. And the economy is largely from tourism.
Okay.
Most of the housing, especially near the water, are vacation homes and hotels. And most of the visitors are from East London. So it does have a nice little small population of locals, but not many. And the most popular spot in this area is Laysdown Beach.
Okay.
And when I look at pics of it, I get like seaside vibes.
Uh-huh. Totally.
Very there's like a I don't know what you call it, like a boardwalk or a
Mm-hmm.
that's all very carnival-y.
Yes.
Mhm,
Yes.
totally.
Totally.
So some dude with a metal detector is out walking the beach while the tides are low looking for treasures. And in the distance, he can see what looks like a pile of like fabric, like a pile of clothing.
Okay.
Mhm. But when he gets up close, he sees that it is a body.
Mm-hmm.
And he can tell by the condition of the body that this person did not die from any natural causes or from drowning.
No.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's always somebody who's outside just trying to do something for themselves or have a good time. They're like out playing in the park. They're going for a hike or a walk. They're walking around on the beach with their metal detector
I know.
and they come across like a nightmare.
I feel so bad for these people because
Yes.
that's got to be so traumatizing.
I think about those little boys that were playing in the field that tripped over the body of that little girl that was
on the
laying on the fire
ant.
ant hill.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God. At least in that instance, she lived.
But
But
still.
still, yeah, I always think of Stand By Me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like you think you want to see that, but you don't. You can't ever unsee it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah. So this person is just in a completely unrecognizable state. There's significant damage to their head and face. And so this treasure hunter guy calls emergency services. And when the Kent detectives arrive, they say it's the most brutal homicide they've ever seen.
Well, I mean, especially in that town, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. The victim was a young-ish male. He didn't have on any pants or underwear. There was no wallet or anything that could be used to identify him, but he was wearing a silver ring with a dragon on it, which was sort of unique.
Mm.
So the police put out a press release online hoping that someone could help them identify this person, and they included like a super zoomed in picture of this dragon ring.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So 34-year-old Gary Pocock is staying in one of the vacation spots, or his vacation spot for the summer. He's a caretaker from East London, and he didn't have much family. Both of his parents had passed away, and he did have like a really small group of friends, sort of. He was kind of a nerd.
Mm-hmm.
He lived with his parents up until they passed. And when both of his parents were starting to get sick, they both like I heard something weird.
What?
Maybe it's just my cats. I don't know.
Okay. Maybe was it me? Was it me doing something else?
Was it me? No.
Was it? Okay.
As they were starting to get sick and they knew they were going to pass, they asked Gary's friends to please look out for him once they were gone.
Oh,
I know. Gary had been described as kind of a classic nerd. He struggled socially a bit, and he was super into like fantasy video games.
mm-hmm.
In July of 2012, when Gary's parents passed away, he inherits some money from them. Not a huge amount, but just like a nice little, nest egg. And he seeks advice from his friend, Mark Terry, on how he should invest the money.
Okay, Mark. Here we go.
Listen.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mark was also from East London, and they knew each other through family connections somehow. Oh, it is my cats. At one point, Gary had done some yard work for Mark for extra money. Mark is not nerdy like Gary. He's like pretty well known in East London and on the Isle of Sheppey. He'd been spending his vacations there for years. And he had like this whole gaggle of people who looked up to him, mostly like teenage boys.
Oh no.
This
is like Matthew McConaughey's character in Dazed and Confused,
God,
like,
it's been so long since I've seen that. Was that
like,
the vibe?
He was like the guy that bought all the high school kids beer and like hung out there with them and drank and then said things like the thing I like about high school chicks is that they stay the same age while I get older or something to that effect. Like, yes.
Ew. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's the vibe here. That's the vibe. Wanting to be looked up to by teenage boys,
I know,
is a vibe, and I am not here for it.
No, I'm not here for it either. That's gross. So yeah, he's got this, fan club. He's been spending his vacations on the Isle of Sheppey for many years. And he would provide work to some of the teenage boys on the Isle of Sheppey so they could earn extra money, and he would sort of look out for them, whatever that means. And they all sort of saw him as like a mentor or a father figure.
Everything about this is making like red flag. There's just flags everywhere.
Yep. So Mark owned a couple of vacation spots on the island, and he told Gary, you should buy a vacation home. Gary had recently actually met a woman that he partnered up with who was a single mom, and he had really taken on the role of dad to these kids. And so he thought it would be a great idea to have a vacation spot on the beach for the kids.
Right.
So he buys a spot near Mark's on the island. So back to August 2013. Mark is on the island on vacation, and so is Gary and his family, and their vacation homes are like a few doors down from each other, right? They're doing their thing. Mark's wife, Lisa Terry, was there, and she was friends with Gary's partner. They're all vacationing together, like, yay, happy, happy.
Yeah.
On the night of August 6, 2013, Mark and Gary decide to do a pub crawl. And Mark also invites, some of his posse, his son, Matt's friend, Chris, and some of the teenage boys from the island. So they start at Merlin's Bar, which is a pretty busy nightclub. You can see them on the CCTV footage. They don't stay long before Mark suggests that they go further down the beach. And so they walk down the boardwalk past all the amusement stuff, which was still very much active, and it was a hopping time. And they go down to the Talk of the Town pub, which is also a very busy pub. But Gary never makes it home. So when he doesn't return, his partner is super worried, and she contacts Mark. And Mark tells her that Gary left last night with another woman. He's cheating on you.
This is okay. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about this nerdy homebody type who lived with his parents until they died, who finally gets a woman in his life, and she has kids that he wants to like father figure for.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, he's not pulling another woman. That's not happening.
No.
Second of all, he would never.
No.
I don't even know Gary, and I know he would never. He is not that guy.
He's not that guy.
She's got to know he's not that guy.
I don't know. Okay, we'll just get into it.
Okay.
So, so she's all upset. And Mark's wife, Lisa, is like consoling her. And then she gets a strange text on her phone from an unknown number that says, "Can I come home tonight?" And she responds with, "Who is this?" And she gets a text back that says, "Gary." So she's relieved to hear from him, even though she's pissed off. So she goes back home to East London, thinking he's going to come home to East London.
Oh,
But Gary isn't there.
no.
Mm-hmm. So by August 8th, when he still hasn't come home, she is frantic. And that is when she sees on social media that press release from the police, and she knows without a doubt that that's Gary's ring.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. So she calls Mark Terry and tells him about this press release, and Mark calls the police.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. When he calls, he says that he has just heard that there was a body on the beach, and he believes it is his friend, and he wanted to provide any information that they may need. He said, "We were all hoping it wasn't my friend, but it obviously is." He says on the phone that they went out for drinks and he went off with some woman that he met at the Talk of the Town pub.
Mark is such a goddamn liar.
Mm-hmm. So 36 hours after that treasure hunter found the body, he is positively ID'd as Gary Pocock.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Gary. So around the location of Gary's body, they find some coins, keys, and a tooth.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm. And there are also drag marks with blood in the sand.
Oh.
Yeah. Investigators believe that Gary was dragged. Is it dragged or drug? You don't say drug as a past tense of...
Dragged. I think it's
Isn't
dragged.
that weird that it's not drug?
I don't know.
You know,
Words are hard, Amber.
words
I
are
know.
so hard. The amount of blue squiggly lines when I'm typing up a story, and I'm always like, but why? I like is and are. I'm constantly like,
Uh-huh.
you too?
No.
Oh. Okay, listen. I'm good at a lot of things, but apparently not that.
Words aren't the thing. It's fine.
Okay,
It's fine.
so there's drag marks in the sand. They believe that they attempted, whoever dragged him out to the water, but he washed back in with the tide.
Right.
Also washed back in with the tide were 2 baseball bats, and one of
Holy
them.
shit.
That's my least favorite.
Baseball bat or claw hammer, and I get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm. One of the bats was snapped in half.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 bats means more than 1 killer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fucking teenage boys.
Yep. Baseball. I mean, I always just hope that the person being attacked was completely out cold after the first blow.
Right.
I mean, that's the best you can hope for.
Yep.
Oh. So detectives start canvassing the area and talking to everyone staying at the vacation homes, including Mark and Lisa Terry and all their buddies. When the forensics come back on the 2 bats, they are positively, the DNA, the blood on the bats comes back as a positive to match for Gary. And one of the bats had like a taped handle, like medical tape kind of thing. And they were able to pull a fingerprint from that tape.
Even after it had been in the ocean?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Probably on the underside, sticky side, like whoever had done this pre-taped it for better grip.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Okay. Sure.
And the fingerprint came back as a match to Jamie West, who was a 19-year-old island local.
One of the acolytes of Mark Terry.
Acolytes? Oh, that's a fancy word.
It's just a $5 word, whatever.
It's a $5 word. So, a few days after Gary was discovered, Mark, along with his family and a few others, create a little memorial spot for Gary on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And because the murder is such big news on this little island, the media is already there and they ask Mark if he would like to give a statement.
Oh my God.
So he goes on camera with Lisa and he's, very distraught on camera and saying he doesn't understand why this happened. He speaks to the media and says that he wants to see justice served and whoever did this should be locked up for the rest of their life.
He could not wait to get on camera.
Why do people...
I don't know. It is so weird.
Uh-huh. They want to be right in the center of it.
The center.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I burped again. So investigators start going over the details that Mark provided them regarding the night of Gary's murder. So when they review the CCTV footage from Merlin's pub, they see 4 men exit the pub. It was Mark first, Gary right behind him, and then behind Gary were 2 men that they couldn't really see who exactly they were, right?
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, those same 2 men walk into a convenience store shortly after leaving the pub. And on this footage, you can clearly see their faces. And it's Matt Terry and 15-year-old local Richie Zabrowski. 15.
Oh my God.
Uh-huh. In footage later on in the night at another pub, they are also able to identify Christopher Bones, a 19-year-old from London who's friends with Matt Terry.
Mm-hmm.
Then at one point, they see Matt Terry leave the pub by himself, and he goes and gets into a red car and drives down the seafront towards the home of Jamie West.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of cameras along the seafront shops, like a lot.
Yep.
Uh-huh. And at one point, you can see 4 of them leave the paved path and go through a fence that takes you down to the beach.
Right.
And 40 minutes later on the same camera, you see 3 of them walk back.
Yep.
And the 3 that walk back are Mark, Chris, and Richie. But Gary's no longer with them.
Yep.
There was never a woman that was with them.
No, there was never a woman.
Mm-mm. There was no footage of Gary leaving any of the pubs with a woman or even
Nope.
walking the seafront with a woman.
No.
The last time Gary is seen alive is when he walks with the other 3 men through that fence down to the beach.
I'm waiting for motive here. I don't understand what is happening.
There is no motive.
What?
Okay, well,
we'll get there. Okay.
I mean, we won't, but I don't
want we'll get to the part where, okay.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'll disappoint you later. Hold on.
Okay, great. Great.
So between the fingerprints and the CCTV footage, they are able to arrest all 4 suspects. They are all separated and individually interviewed, and all of them denied having anything to do with Gary's murder.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. So investigators look into that text that went to Gary.
Yeah.
From Gary to his partner.
Yeah.
And this is wild. They trace the number back to a man in East London.
What?
Mm-hmm. And the man said that he was at a bus stop and a young man came up to him and said that he needed to get in contact with his girlfriend and could he borrow his phone. So the guy was like, yeah, no problem. And he handed him his phone. And so this young man sends that message saying that he was Gary and gives the phone back to the guy and walks off.
Another teenage boy under the spell of Mark Terry.
Well, yeah. So they want to know who this person is, right?
Yeah.
So all of the city buses have cameras on them inside and outside. And they know exactly when the text was sent and at what bus stop. So they start going through all the footage of every bus that went by that bus stop, within that hour. And they finally come across footage where they see a young man talking to an older man at a bus stop. And they see the young man hand the phone back over and walk off and get into a car.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't identify the young man, but luckily, this fucking idiot gets into his car and he pulls out right in front of the bus.
Hi, license plate, make and model.
Yep. And the car is registered to Matt Terry, Mark's son. He went back to East London and then back to the island.
What?
To do,
just to do that.
Mm-hmm. It's also the same red car that he drove off in from the pub towards Jamie's house.
What?
Mm-hmm.
So now he's roped his son into this murder.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So now all five are charged with the murder of Gary. And what they learn at trial is that Mark Terry had called a meeting and told all of these young men, including his son, that Gary was a pedophile and that he needed to be dealt with.
What?
Mm-hmm. Which is not true and also so sad and likely like maybe why his pants and underwear were removed as like, I don't know, like there was some symbolism in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He convinces all of them to lure Gary down to the beach. And Matt was already at the beach hiding and waiting with Jamie when the rest of them showed up.
Oh my God.
Just totally ambushed him.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Matt ran over as soon as they came down and hit him over the head with the baseball bat. I mean, you're doing a pub crawl and a walk with who you presume is your best friend.
What in the fuck?
Mm-hmm. He was able to get up once and run, but it was pretty easily to tackle him back down. On the footage showing the men walking back without Gary, you can see Chris, one of the teenagers, doing a fist pump in the air.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm. So only one of the five actually testified at trial. The rest refused to talk. After a 10-week trial, Jamie West is found guilty of manslaughter and the other 4 are found guilty of murder. This is weird. I don't know about England laws because Jamie West wasn't the minor, but he was sentenced, maybe because he was the one that testified. He was sentenced to 7 years in juvenile. But I believe he's 19. So I don't know what legal age is in.
I don't either.
Mm-hmm. But Christopher was sentenced to life with a minimum of 18 years. Matt, Mark's son, was sentenced to life with a minimum of 19 years. And Mark Terry was sentenced to life with a minimum of 26 years. Richie Zabrowski, who was 15 years old, was sentenced to life with a minimum of 13 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. There was no indication that Mark was his beneficiary. The inheritance from his parents was pretty meek. I think it was the vacation home and then that was it. So I have no idea. No idea.
This is
why.
So disturbing.
I know.
Like he just wanted to murder somebody?
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, you left me really disappointed.
I'm really sorry. I was disappointed at the end of my research. I was like, wait, but why? And then I was like digging and digging and digging. I have no idea why.
No, why?
No, why?
What the fuck?
Isn't that gross?
It's so fucking gross.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I'm sorry, sister. Do you have a palate cleanser?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Anyway.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. My pleasure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just Like, you can't even come up with a reason. You can't even guess at a reason. Like, what else would it be except for just literally he wanted to... Maybe he thought that it would make him seem cool to these young men.
Maybe there's something already just like weirdly immature about somebody that age who wants to be like the cool person in the clique of teenagers when you're a
Yes,
fucking
that's what I'm
grown up.
saying. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
And it seemed like his wife had no idea that, I mean,
Well, she clearly has no discernment because like that she should have had flags on the play the whole time with that behavior of his.
Yeah, I know.
It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's the pedophile.
Maybe. Yeah. No shit.
You know?
No shit. Yeah.
You know?
I do know.
Some projection going on there?
Possibly.
Ugh, sister, that was gross.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Poor Gary.
Let me just poor Gary.
Poor Gary. Do you have
deserved way better than that. Yes. Let's move on to some chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk to you about Agatha Christie.
Oh, okay.
Dame Agatha Mary Clarissa Christie was born Agatha Miller in September of 1890. And she's one of the most famous detective novelists, if not the most famous detective novelist of all time.
Mm-hmm.
She was born to a wealthy upper middle class family in Torquay, Devon, on the island of Great Britain. Torquay is a seaside town on the little southwest tail of the island of England. And Agatha is definitely the most famous person to come from that town.
No shit. Also, we did it again. We both did seaside towns from England.
Yes.
I can't. All right.
Her sister Madge was 13 years older than her, and her brother Monty was 10 years older than her. Between that and the fact that there were so few children in the neighborhood of the Miller home, Agatha spent most of her childhood playing alone with the family pets and her imaginary friends.
I wonder if she was a late in life oopsie daisy.
I'm not really sure. I didn't go digging deep into the pre-Agatha life of her family. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I'm just spitballing. I was not asking you to like.
I mean, maybe
go
she
find
might
that
be.
fact.
Hold, please. Let's go back to the. Agatha was largely homeschooled growing up, and as a result, her parents and sister supervised her studies in reading, writing, and basic math, which was a subject that Agatha particularly enjoyed. Mm-hmm. They also taught her music, and she learned to play the piano and the mandolin.
Good for her. God bless her. It's not easy.
Agatha's mom thought that Agatha didn't need to learn to read until she was 8.
Okay.
But Agatha was reading by the age of 4.
Mm-hmm.
And she was an absolute bookworm. She wrote her first poem when she was 10. Her dad died the following year when she was 11, and she said the death of her father marked the end of her childhood.
Oh.
This was also when the Millers' finances started to kind of take a downturn. Agatha was living alone by then with her mom, and her mom enrolled her in actual school, Miss Geyer's girls' school in town. But Agatha struggled with the discipline and structure of real school.
Mm-hmm.
In 1905, she was sent to Paris to attend a series of boarding schools focused on voice training and piano. But Agatha soon decided she didn't really have the drive to be a concert pianist or an opera singer, and she abandoned those pursuits.
Okay.
When Agatha returned from her time abroad in her studies, her mom was not doing well with her health. So the two of them decided to spend the winter of 1907 to 1908 in Egypt, which at the time was a common tourist destination for the wealthy of Britain. Wow. Which really begs the question, what does it mean that their finances were deteriorating around the time of her father's passing? Because she's like boarding school in Paris and winter in Egypt. That sounds pretty posh to me.
Samesies. Yeah. Didn't deteriorate that much.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's all about perspective, isn't it?
Yes, for sure.
Agatha wrote her first short story at the age of 18, which she wrote while in bed recovering from an illness. And it was really about madness and dreams, which Agatha was fascinated with. The stories that followed focused on spiritualism and the paranormal, more topics she was very interested in. All her early work she submitted for publication under masculine pen names was rejected by the magazines that she solicited. She couldn't get anyone to publish her first novel, even with connections that she had with a published author who was also their neighbor in Torquay.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, Agatha was doing social things like country house parties, writing, hunting, dances, and roller skating.
Oh my God. What a full life.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
She had a handful of short-lived relationships, including an engagement. And in October 1912, at the age of 22, she met Archibald Christie at a dance. Archie was an officer in the Royal Artillery, and the two quickly fell in love and were engaged 3 months after meeting.
Jeez.
I mean, that's how it was done back
When
then.
you know, you know. Oh, you're back to your bucket. Good for you. God, sorry. Sorry. I just now noticed. Sorry.
Okay. God damn it, sister.
Yeah, because she's practically a spinster at this point, right? What, she's 22?
She's 22.
gotta
She
move
should just
this
hang it
along.
up.
Yeah.
100%.
Mhm.
When World War II broke out, Archie was shipped off to France, and Agatha did her part volunteering as a nurse with the Red Cross. At war's end, Archie was stationed in London, where they rented an apartment. Agatha had written her first detective novel, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, featuring Hercule Poirot. The character of Poirot was a former Belgian police officer with, quote, magnificent mustaches and a head, quote, exactly the shape of an egg.
Ew. Why
And
does she
Agatha-
have more than one mustache?
I don't know.
Oh.
And Agatha finally found a publisher that would print her book so long as she made a better reveal at the end, which she did. And this deal came with what is it? The deal that she signed was that she would print her next 5 books with this publisher.
Oh, okay.
Poirot would become Agatha's most famous and prolific character, appearing in 33 novels, 2 plays, and 51 short stories published between 1920 and 1975.
Shit.
By 1923, Agatha had settled into her marriage, birthed her only child, Rosalind, and published 2 more books and a bunch of short stories. Agatha Christie was officially making a living as an author.
Wow.
Oh, and after an extensive trip with Archie around the world, including South Africa and Hawaii, Agatha learned to surf.
Of course she did. My God. Can add that to her social life of roller skating, hunting.
Yes.
And she's not using a male pen name, right?
No.
Good for her.
She is not. I just completely lost my spot. Like, well, how did I do that?
I don't know.
Because I touched my keyboard and I did something. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, sister.
Okay.
Learned how to. There we go. Okay. Eventually, after a series of moves from one apartment to another in London, and after Agatha started to become a celebrity with her success, she and Archie bought a grand 12-bedroom house in the village of Sunningdale and named the house Styles after the mansion in her first novel.
Wow.
Archie was absent often. Agatha was increasingly unhappy there. In April of 1926, Agatha's mom passed away from bronchitis. Agatha and her mom had been really, really close, and this sent Agatha into a kind of grief that lingered and pulled her down. Back then, they would have called it melancholy, but she was legit depressed.
Right.
Archie was unsympathetic to his mother-in-law's death, even failing to attend her funeral.
Oh, jeez.
And to make it all even worse, Archie was having an affair with a woman named Nancy Neal, his 25-year-old secretary.
God, Archie, can you be any more fucking cliche?
Right?
Gross.
It was August when he confessed this affair to Agatha and told her he wanted a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Agatha hit a breaking point of sorts, and that same month, the press would report that she had gone to a coastal village in southwest France to recuperate from a breakdown caused by overwork.
Sure. At least they didn't call it hysteria.
Right.
Yeah.
Agatha did not want a divorce and did not just concede to Archie's request. So a few months later, on February 3rd, December 3rd of 1926, did I say February 3rd, December 3rd?
Yep.
A few months later, on Friday,
Yep.
December 3rd of 1926.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Archie and Agatha had a big fight after he told her he was going off for a weekend with his boys and Nancy and not with Agatha.
Oh. This guy sucks.
Big time.
Mm-hmm.
After Archie left, late in the evening, Agatha left young Rosalind in the care of the maid and set off into the night. The next morning, Agatha's abandoned car was found several miles away by Surrey police, partly submerged in the bushes at Newlands Corner. It was actually lodged in a hedge, its front wheels over the edge of a chalk pit. It would have gone right down into the pit and been totaled had it not been for the hedge.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like a car accident. But Agatha was not in the vehicle. The headlights were on, and a suitcase and a coat were in the back seat, as well as Agatha's driver's license. But there was no Agatha.
Mm-hmm.
Agatha was not yet Agatha Christie, although her star was rising. And she suddenly became front page news when it was reported that her car was found abandoned without her in it, and a good-sized reward was on offer for any help in locating her.
Mm-hmm.
A massive search was launched, including thousands of police and volunteers, to locate Agatha. A man who claimed he had seen her that night reported that she was, quote, sparsely dressed for such an inclement morning, and that she appeared strange in her manner.
Okay.
A local lake known as the Silent Pool was also dredged. Home Secretary William Joynson Hicks put pressure on police to find the writer, and fellow mystery writer Sir Arthur Conan Doyle of the Sherlock Holmes series, he sought the help of a clairvoyant to find Agatha using one of her gloves as a guide.
I love that that's what he jumped in with. Good for you.
Her disappearance was international news now. It made the front page of the New York Times.
Wow.
Journalists started to put forth a range of theories to explain Agatha's disappearance. Some suggested she had drowned herself, others that she had been murdered by Archie. Many in the public suspected Archie and Nancy together had a hand in Agatha's disappearance. Another theory was that Agatha was just pulling a publicity stunt to promote her novels, since the whole thing read like one of her detective stories.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
Archie, worried that his infidelity would be revealed by the papers, made a very stupid mistake and gave an interview to the Daily Mail, likely hoping to divert attention away from Nancy, and suggested himself that maybe his wife had deliberately disappeared. Quote, "My wife had discussed the possibility of disappearing at will. Engineering a disappearance had been running through her mind, probably for the purpose of her work. Personally, I feel that is what happened."
Fuck off, Archie.
The search went on, speculation swirled, for 11 days, until finally, on the 14th of December, the head waiter of a hotel contacted the police saying that a lively and outgoing South African guest by the name of Teresa Neal may actually be the missing writer in disguise. Archie traveled with police to the Swan Hydro Hotel, today known as the Old Swan Hotel, in Harrogate, which is over 180 miles away from her home in Sunningdale. He took a seat in the corner of the hotel's dining room and watched as Agatha walked in, sat down at a table, and began reading a newspaper which had her very own disappearance as front page news.
Oh, shit.
Archie approached her, and witnesses noticed she seemed puzzled and had no real recognition of the man she'd been married to for nearly 12 years. After being found, Agatha left the following day for her sister's house, where she was sequestered away, quote, in guarded hall, gates locked, telephone cut off, and callers turned away.
Wow.
And she did end up in some kind of inpatient psychiatric treatment and like long-term psychiatric care of some kind, where she slowly regained her memory and got better.
Mm-hmm.
After being found, of course, the events of those 11 days became known, mostly via those who encountered her at the hotel, but also from later interviews with Agatha herself.
Wow.
She said that on that Saturday morning, while police were investigating her abandoned car, she had lost her memory. She arrived at the train station in Waterloo, covered in mud, smeared with blood on her face from the accident, and in her mind, she was Mrs. Teresa Neal of South Africa, someone with the same last name as Archie's mistress, from a place where she and Archie had been happy together.
Mm.
She went to King's Cross, the same station where 81 years later Andrew Gosden would last be seen.
Oh, yeah. Fuck.
And bought a ticket for the spa resort town of Harrogate. She took a taxi to the Swan Hydro Hotel, apparently picked at random. She arrived with no suitcase, telling staff that she had recently come from South Africa and left her luggage with friends.
Wow, this is incredible.
Mr. W. Taylor, the hotel's manager, stated later that Mrs. Neal took a good room on the first floor fitted with hot and cold water. The price of 7 guineas a week caused her no hesitation. She seemed to have as much money as she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Agatha's room was serviced by a young housekeeper named Rosie Asher, who seems to have kept a particularly close eye on Mrs. Neal. Rosie noticed that Mrs. Neal had brought hardly anything with her. She wanted some order and routine in her stay at the hotel, so she went down for dinner and even took part in the evening's dancing. The guests, who were also referred to as patients, were happy to include Mrs. Neal in the activities. One of them would later say, quote, I danced with Mrs. Christie the evening she arrived. She does the Charleston, but not very well.
Oh my God. Wait, why are they referred to as patients?
This is in the 20s. It was back in that time when you like went to like hot springs to like get well.
Oh God, I am.
And this was like a spa town.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I see.
It's like a wellness center, you know?
I see. She's having a Kundalini awakening.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Kundalini Christie. That's right.
Oh God. Mm-hmm. There it is.
Agatha seemed to enjoy her life as this other woman. Rosie said that on Sunday, while police were searching the Surrey Downs for her or her body, she, quote, slept until 10 a.m., had breakfast in bed, and then went out.
Good for her.
On Monday morning, Rosie noticed Agatha had the London newspaper taken up with breakfast in bed. It would have been hard to avoid the story about Mrs. Christie's disappearance, but she somehow managed to be mostly uninterested. She began to buy herself a new wardrobe, and later that day, after a visit to the shops, packages began to be delivered to her room. Quote, new hat, coat, evening shoes, books and magazines, pencil and fruit, and various toilet requisites. People noticed that she usually had a book in her hand. She'd been to the W.H. Smith Library on Parliament Street, where the librarian, quote, gathered from her selections that she had a taste for novels of sensation and mystery.
Mm-hmm.
That evening, Agatha came down to dinner in a proper evening dress and with a new fancy scarf. Hotel staff would report that, quote, she has made a number of friends. She played billiards and even sang. Miss Corbett, the hotel's entertainment hostess, noticed that Mrs. Neal still had the price tag pinned to her new shawl, 75 shillings, and asked, is that all you're worth? To which Agatha replied, I think I am worth more than that.
Yeah.
At the Hydro, people were beginning to suspect who Mrs. Neal really was. Mm-hmm. On Tuesday, December 7th, a portrait had been printed on the Daily Express's front page. The resemblance was unmistakable.
Right.
The hotel's manager recalled, quote, when she had been there about 4 days, my wife said to me, I believe that lady is Mrs. Christie. and Mr. Taylor thought his wife was being absurd, but she wasn't the only one beginning to suspect who Mrs. Neal really was. The next day, the Westminster Gazette reported that no fewer than 300 police officers and special constables had taken part in a search in Surrey. They were pretty certain they were hunting for a corpse.
Whoa.
But Agatha was oblivious. Life was much better now. Later, Agatha would say, quote, "At Harrogate, I read every day about Mrs. Christie's disappearance. I regarded her as having acted stupidly."
That's so funny.
A fellow guest remembered her saying that, quote, "Mrs. Christie is a very elusive person. I cannot be bothered with her."
That's awesome.
Also, according to this witness, Agatha was beginning to show signs of mental distress. Quote, "She would press her hand to her forehead and say, it's my head. I cannot remember."
Oh.
Around this time, Archie is changing his tune from his previous interview and defending himself against the charge that he'd been a bad husband. Quote, "It is absolutely untrue to suggest that there was anything in the nature of a row or a tiff between my wife and myself on Friday morning. I strongly depreciate introducing any tittle-tattle into this matter."
Shut the fuck up, Archie.
I know. Shut the fuck up, Archie.
God,
Just
nobody
stop
cares.
talking.
Yeah, go back to Nancy. Just go.
Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But readers must have thought he protested far too much. On the morning of Saturday, December 11th, the Telegraph ran a big ad for a forthcoming series of The Murder on the Links. It was announced as the work of, quote, "Agatha Christie, the missing novelist."
Oh, whoa.
These were obviously the words of Agatha's publishers, not Agatha herself, but it did lend to the theory that she was somehow cashing in on her new notoriety.
Mm-hmm.
But Agatha was just over reading the papers. At the Hydro on that Sunday morning, no newspaper was taken up to her bedroom.
Okay.
On Tuesday, the Daily Mail ran an editorial. If Agatha Christie were alive, its writer argued, quote, "She must be ready to inflict intense anxiety on her relatives and heavy expenditure on the public in a heartless practical joke."
Shit.
Unfortunately, many of her biographers, notably her male ones, have been as heavily invested in this narrative as the male police officers and journalists who made it into such a sensation at the time. Quote, "She set out deliberately, the facts shout it, to throw murder suspicion upon her husband," says one of these biographers.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, the idea has spread into films and novels. Some have her as a woman wronged, with an understandable desire for revenge. Others, in the more extreme, notably the feature film Agatha, made in 1979, present her as the would-be murderer of Nancy Neal. And this narrative of Agatha Christie as a cold and calculating woman set on revenge persists.
Wow.
And the other pervasive narrative is that Agatha Christie never spoke of it ever again, leaving everyone with this mystery of what really happened and why she disappeared.
She never said anything?
That is patently untrue. A year and a half later, as she was going through her divorce with Archie in 1928 and fighting for custody of their daughter in what was likely an attempt to fix her public image after being silent all that time about what she went through, she sat down and did an interview with the Daily Mail, which is the UK equivalent of the New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
And in that interview, she talked about having entered into a fugue state, which is a way for the mind to protect itself from a reality that it cannot process. Wow. In Agatha's case, it was her mother's death, the pressure of producing her next bestseller, her husband's affair and wanting a divorce. And part of the reason she wasn't believed at the time is because in the 1920s, a fugue state was kind of a culture war issue. Soldiers of World War I who had what was then called shell shock, what would now be called PTSD, would often themselves experience fugue states or memory loss. But a lot of people didn't believe it was real and that these people were really basically just faking it.
Shit.
And they were eager to disbelieve Agatha as well for other reasons, like she was a mystery writer and people couldn't separate the person from the job. She was a highly visible woman author and broke gender rules, so she was receiving backlash. And she was a working mom who left her child behind when she disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Agatha Christie recovered from that devastating period of her life and remarried an archaeologist who was 13 years her junior.
Good for her.
In 1977, a thallium poisoning case was solved by British medical personnel because one of them had read one of her books and recognized the symptoms that she had described.
Fuck, seriously?
Yeah, I didn't write this down, but when she volunteered for the Red Cross in World War I, she also then moved on and worked with an apothecary, and she learned about like drugs basically and like apothecary shit. And so in World War II, she went and did that again and worked with this like a dispensary and apothecary.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like extensively knowledgeable in like poisons and drugs and stuff.
Shit.
So like she knew what she was doing when she wrote about that shit.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know. She set up the Agatha Christie Trust for Children in 1969, and shortly after her death, a memorial fund was set up to, quote, help the two causes that she favored, old people and young children. Agatha's obituary in the Times said, in part, Dame Agatha's private pleasures were gardening. She won local prizes for horticulture and buying furniture for her various houses. She was a shy person. She disliked public appearances, but she was friendly and sharp-witted to meet. By inclination as well as breeding, she belonged to the English upper middle class. She wrote about and for people like herself. That was an essential part of her charm. Agatha died on January 12th. Shout out to Naomi's clean date. 1976, at the age of 85, of natural causes. When all was said and done, Agatha published 66 detective novels and 14 short story collections, most known for the stories revolving around Poirot and Miss Marple. She also wrote the world's longest-running play, The Mousetrap, which has been performed in the West End of London since 1951.
Fuck.
She has been called the Queen of Crime, a nickname now trademarked by her estate, or the Queen of Mystery. She also wrote 6 novels under the pen name Mary Westmacott. She was made a dame by Queen Elizabeth in 1971 for her contributions to literature and is the best-selling fiction writer of all time, her novels having sold more than 2 billion copies.
Fuck, I just got chills. I love her.
Despite all that she accomplished, even unsolved mysteries perpetuated the narrative that we'll never know, really, why Agatha disappeared for those 11 days in a case that looked like a case right out of one of her stories.
Okay.
Agatha Christie historian Lucy Worsley is determined to fix this narrative. In a post on her blog, she wrote, quote, after the events of 1926, she became incredibly reluctant to give media interviews and adopted what I perceive to be a deliberate strategy of belittling herself and downplaying her enormous achievements. That's why, despite her fame and her success and her later happiness, I've still got a sense of unfinished business about the life of Agatha Christie. I think she experienced a backlash against the new prominence of women like her in public life in the 1920s. And in consequence, I think the press created a false narrative about her being a bad, tricksy, difficult woman. And it persists to this day when people talk about the mystery of her disappearance, rather than naming it, as she did herself, as an episode of devastating mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And that is
Fuck.
the mysterious disappearance of Agatha Christie.
That was amazing. Wow. What made you think of that one?
Unsolved mysteries!
They got it wrong.
They got it wrong.
Fuck.
I know.
That was wonderful.
Thank
I
you.
needed that. That was a good one.
Right?
Mhm.
It made me love Agatha Christie even more.
Samesies.
I read some of her novels when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have,
She's-
but I'm going to grab a few now.
You should. You should give them a whirl. It's good, wholesome murder mystery fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
There's a reason why she's like she's the best-selling fiction writer of all time.
Wow. I love her.
Mm-hmm. Love her. Love her.
Love her. Thank you for that.
You're so welcome, sister.
Oh,
Wow. We did it.
We did it.
We did it.
Woohoo.
We crossed the finish line.
That's right. We did.
Oh, Chaos Kids, you know what you need to do. We need you to go to whatever app you're listening on and give us a rating. And if you're on an Apple device, you can typey a little review for us. We love it.
Yeah, we do.
And if you want to be a part of Virtual Wine Night on Friday, get into the Patreon.com/ Crime, Wine, and Chaos.
Yakety yak. Friday.
Don't talk back. Join the club.
That's right. So you can talk
Well, you don't have to. You can talk back. You don't have to join the club, but you got to join the Patreon.
Yeah, it's free. It's free.
It's free.
And then you can come hang with us for the evening.
Yeah.
Have
a good time.
Get yourself some wine or whatever.
Whatever.
A ginger ale. Whatever.
Totally.
Whatever you want. Get yourself a bevy and let's just
get a bevy and open up your phone or your laptop and join the virtual wine night.
We'd
talk
about
see
people
you.
with us. It's our favorite thing to
do. We can talk about Agatha Christie.
We can do whatever we want.
We can do whatever we want.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sister, that was a good time.
That was.
Mostly, except for your story was a bummer, but I expected as such from you.
Oh,
so.
Okay. Love you.
But I love you anyway.
Love you.
I'll love you always. But damn it, that was so chaotic.
Yes, it was. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.
Crime, Wine, and Chaos is produced by 8th Direction Records. Artwork by Joshua M. Davis. Music by Jeremy Williams. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/Crime, Wine, and Chaos. Cheers!